Hi everyone, it's Ange, and thank you for tuning in to my station and to Starlight Wellness. On today's video, I'm going to talk about the new moon in Virgo this September 2017, the autumn equinox, which is today, the day that I'm filming, which is September 22nd, 2017. And I'm going to demystify a little bit more about the biblical, astronomical prophecies that are happening on September 23rd. So there's a lot of astrological and information coming through this week, and I'm very grateful that you are here to tune in, and I hope this serves you on your journey. So stay tuned. Hi, so welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to the new moon in Virgo and autumn spring equinox, depending on where you are on the planet video. So there's a lot of information that I want to cover, and I'm going to break it down into 3 separate sections. So the first section is going to be specifically about the new moon in Virgo, and a little bit more information about where the planets are and the transits and the stars. So that's going to be very astrological. The second part is going to be talking about the equinox. And the equinox is the autumn equinox here in North America. And in the southern hemisphere, it's the spring equinox. And so it's always a change of the seasons. So I'm going to get into a little bit about that. And then the final one is going to be a section where I'm going to read some passages from 2 books. The first is The Power of the Myth, which we're going to talk about the themes that are happening during this astrological transit. So The Power of the Myth by Joseph Campbell. And the second is The Circle of Life, The Heart's Journey Through the Seasons, with Joyce Rupp and Marciana Vindenker. So I'm going to be reading some passages from those books just to give more depth and mythical information into this astrological transit. All right, so let's dig in. So the first is this week. What is going on in the sky this week? We have the Virgo new moon at 27 degrees. Now 27 equals 9. That's kind of like a light worker number, a call to action, a call to mission. Number 9, again, is related with the Sagittarius astrological sign, which is the Archer, shooting up to higher philosophy. So this Virgo new moon is definitely including themes to increase our conscientiousness and our philosophical minds, to open that up a little bit. And so I don't think it's a coincidence that I am tuning back in and making a video again after being offline for about 3 months. So what's going on? What is this September 23rd big astrological event that's happening? What is going on for this new moon and for this equinox? So first off, we have a huge theme of Virgo. Virgo is the Virgin. It is symbolic of the divine feminine. There's no coincidence that during this new moon, we were also celebrating the birth of Mother Mary in Christian tradition. There is also the celebration in Jewish tradition of Rosh Hashanah, which is marked by the celebration of the new year. Now, these are all important celebrations highlighting the themes that are happening during the new moon. So the new moon has 3 other planets in Virgo right now. So Mercury, which is ruled by Virgo, is also in Virgo. Mars is in Virgo and Venus is in Virgo. And this is very important because it puts a huge focus on the themes of Virgo. So let's dig in to what does Virgo really represent at this time for us. Just to get a little bit of a background of the themes of Virgo. So from darkstarastrology.com, it writes here that the main themes this month are self-sacrifice, water healing, a clean sweep, which is kind of representative of that Rosh Hashanah New Year kind of theme, victim Madar syndrome, and keeping people hooked. So keeping people hooked to the system, to our governments, being dependent, so that dependency on others or society is coming up during this Virgo full moon. And Virgo has to do with healing, has to do with keeping things tidy, keeping things organized, has to do with natural health. So the focus is really at this time to bring in aspects of natural health and to putting things back in order to start a new year. A very important conjunction that is happening during this new moon is that Venus, the brightest star in the constellation of Leo, which is right here. This is the constellation of Leo, this is the constellation of Virgo, and the star Regulus, which is right there, is being conjunct with Venus during this new moon. So what does that mean? That means there is also a theme to really dig in to healing certain areas of our lives in relation to love. So Virgo is a sign of health, work, service to others, routine, lifestyle, the little details, having a very clear focus, purity, cleanliness, organization, and pets. Pets I found kind of humorous, but generally speaking, the theme is to clean up house in our love lives. And the star Regulus is the brightest star in the planet of Leo. It's the king star. And it's also the star that's representative of really putting things into action. And so it's really putting a focus on our love lives, on the masculine and feminine balance. And I'll describe why that is a little bit later. Another important square that's happening during this new moon is that Chiron in Pisces, which is in retrograde, is being squared at the new moon in Virgo. Now this again brings up themes of healing, of deep internal wounds that need healing, and it also brings up the theme of Christ consciousness or unity consciousness. It has to do with these deep inner core wounds that we are separate from others, that we are not unified, or that we are not in perfect balance and perfect unity with another. So our masculine and feminine, or our feelings of duality with our environment. And so these are a lot of the themes that are going to be coming up at the new moon for us as individuals, but also globally on the planet. So if we have looked at the news, I'm sure many people have at this time, because things have been quite intense. There's a lot of weather changes and patterns, and there's actually a lot of themes of toxins that are being revealed in our environment. So why is that important? So as I described from Dark Star Astrology, the theme of keeping people hooked, or the victim Madar syndrome in society, is coming up for healing at this time. And I'm going to quote him or her here, saying that at this time, the savior-victim polarity is brought into focus. How much our governments, and I'm thinking of those with big welfare systems, are getting their citizens hooked onto their support. Sometimes this is done through actual drugs. So much for the war on drugs. It seems like Western governments are deliberately flooding their countries with narcotics, etc. And it talks about kind of like the illegal drug industry. But the theme of drugs is very much highlighted. The theme of toxins and pollutants in our society, in our water, in our air, in our earth. Eating clean and organic is a huge theme of Virgo. The pollutants that we put into Mother Nature, put into the planet, and that we enforce on individuals is being brought up to our focus. It's all kind of coming up so that we clean up house as individuals. So a lot of people might be going through addictions and detoxification programs. And again, this is about balancing our ability to be self-sovereign and this push and polarity of the savior-victim polarity that's happening, of our dependency on others, society, or governments to help us with our health, or to give us that safety that we try to find, specifically in regards to our health-related matters. And so this is a really huge healing new moon, especially with the square Chiron in Pisces. Chiron, again, is the Christ energy. He is the savior kind of aspect to this polarity and duality that's happening. And so we're going to definitely see a lot of healing of pollutants come up at this time. Another theme at the equinox is happening today. So the equinox is a beautiful transition of day and night that comes into full balance. So the amount of daytime and the amount of nighttime is exactly about the same. And so that also brings the theme of bringing the masculine and the feminine, the light and the dark, into harmony. Why is this important? It's important because we just ended a huge eclipse cycle and Lionsgate last August. August, which is the sign of Leo, astrologically speaking, and the Lionsgate kind of activated the planet and the energy on the planet to go forth and end any things that need endings. And this new moon in Virgo is like our final surrender, our final letting go of these old patterns or toxic behavior, people, places, or things that no longer serve us. But again, Leo is a masculine energy, and Virgo, the feminine energy, is very much related to a change of season, a change, a new year, a new cycle. Again, going in this very mothering, rebirthing, and life cycle that the Virgo energy really embodies. And so what we had on a lot of different aspects of religious celebration, we had Egyptian celebration of the Lionsgate is an Egyptian New Year. when the star Sirius is the brightest in the sky, and that's also called the dog star, but I mean, that's all irrelevant. What is important there is that it created a trigger, and the star is Sirius is what the Egyptians at the time used to calculate a new year, a new cycle. And so that's kind of like the symbolism of the Sphinx in Egypt's kind of pyramid. The Sphinx, the bottom half is a lion, and the front half is a woman's face, which is Virgo, the Virgin. So as we can see in Egyptian mythology, we have the ending of something, which was the eclipse season, and the beginning of something new, which is the Virgin, which is happening right now with this new moon. So with this new moon, we are celebrating in Christianity the birth of Mother Mary, and then the next day we have Rosh Hashanah, which is celebrated for the new year. And so we have this new moon with this huge emphasis of celebration of a new cycle, of a new year. So this is truly a moment in our human history and within our own lives that we are truly going to be cleaning out house and learning something new and having a new start to something in our lives, and finally surrendering whatever it was that no longer served us, whatever belief, whatever dependency belief that we had that our governments or our health systems can support us. We're going to finally let that go, because that's what the theme is for us, to let go. And that's where the victim Madar syndrome comes in. At the end of this month, on September 28th, we also have Pluto in Capricorn going direct. This is also a very, very important transit, because Pluto in Capricorn is related to power, transformation, death and rebirth, control, hidden matters, secret, sex, even money and business. And that's from collectiveevolution.com. So this Pluto in Capricorn energy further emphasizes this new moon in Virgo energy. Like, there is no doubt in my mind that there are things coming up to the surface. There's truths that are hidden are coming up to the surface. This is all in perfect divine timing and in perfect divine alignment. And I think that's where I'm going to end with the astrology for how this kind of picture is coming up for the new moon. And then I'm going to talk about now, what is this September 23rd, 2017 kind of theme happening? So thank you for tuning into the astrology, and I'm going to get into the September 23rd demystification. So stay tuned. So thank you for tuning in again to this new moon in Virgo, this new year that we're having, and this autumn equinox energy that's coming through. And right now I'm going to focus on the prophecy of September 23rd, 2017, and give everyone kind of like a general understanding of what this means. So if you tuned into my first part of the video, I was talking about endings and beginnings. The ending of Leo, which was symbolic of the Sphinx statue in Egypt, the ending of the lion, and the beginning, which is the Virgin Mother, or the divine feminine in her highest energy. And so the face of a Sphinx is a woman. And so there's no coincidence that we have this huge prophetic, astrological, astronomical event happening in the sky on September 23rd, 2017. This particular event is exactly depicting what the ending of the constellation of Leo, and the beginning of Virgo talks about. So here we have the constellation of Leo, here is the constellation of Virgo. And so there is a biblical prophecy in Revelation 12 that discusses about this. But I'm going to talk about two aspects that is important to understanding this particular prophecy. So the first thing is that the Star of Bethlehem, which is the Regulus star, which I talked about in the astrology in the last section, is really highlighted during this time. So about 2 years ago, the Star of Bethlehem, the star when the Christ was born, happened 2 years ago in September 2015. So this particular 2,000-year Star of Bethlehem came 2 years ago. And it only comes every 2,000 years. And there's usually some sort of biblical, prophetic kind of event that occurs on the planet, or in relationship to a lot of biblical tradition occurring, like events occurring that are related. And so what's important here is that the Regulus star, which is here, the brightest star in the constellation of Leo, which is also considered the king star, which is why the king was born, Jesus Christ was born, is a very highlighted star even in this September 23rd chart. And so what's important, if you go back in the biblical history, you notice that this particular Regulus star was noticed every 2,000 years when there was a huge event that happened specifically for the Jewish people, or the Gentiles, as they put it in the Bible. And it occurs again after 2 years since 2015, now in 2017, marking some sort of event. I'm not saying that something's going to happen or something has started, but definitely this particular astrological transit is specific. And I'm going to read to you Revelation 12, just so people can have kind of like this background awareness what that means. So it says, a great sign appeared in the heaven, a great sign, the woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet. So the Virgin, she is clothed with the sun, she's right beside the sun, and the moon is at her feet. So this is her, the Virgin, standing. And a crown of 12 stars on her head. So if we look at the constellation of Leo, there are 9 stars in the constellation of Leo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we have Mercury, Mars, and Venus that are aligned above her head. So that makes 12 stars. So this is what they're talking about here. Because right now, Mercury, Mars, and Venus are in Virgo, and they are aligned beside Leo. So again, the back, Leo, the back of the Sphinx, and the Divine Feminine, the Virgin, is at the front. Symbolic of a new year or a new cycle. And so it says she was pregnant and carried out the pain as she was about to give birth. So Jupiter here at the same time is going into the constellation of Virgo and then exiting through the bottom of her feet. So almost like symbolic of a birthing of Christ, a return of Christ. So Jupiter is symbolic of the Christ energy that is returning and entering into her feet. Astrologically speaking, where is Jupiter right now? Jupiter is in Libra. And so that is very positive influence. Libra is the sign of diplomacy, the sign of perfect divine harmony in relationships and balance, also divine harmony of giving and receiving. But on the lower end of Libra, it is symbolic of being overly dependent on others or society or the government for things, depending or thinking that the government will help us or to provide us with the information that we seek or whatever, or, you know, that our medical systems or our social welfare systems will be helping and supportive of us. Again, think about it. If we are overemphasized and dependent, we cannot harness our self-sovereignty. And so what's really being highlighted here during this transit, especially astrologically speaking, with this placement that's happening, is that there is a focus of healing this dependency disorder that we have, and returning to self-sovereignty and allowing people to be self-sovereign. So there is no longer this victim Madar kind of syndrome coming up. So finally, the equinox, again, about balance, day and light, night and dark, masculine, feminine, masculine, the end of Leo, feminine, the Virgin Mother, birthing the Christ energy back to the planet right now. Is this in fact happening on September 23rd? I'm not sure. But I think what it does say is that there is an element of surrender, a theme of surrender happening, a theme of humility happening, and a theme of sacrifice happening. And I'm going to talk about that in terms of the power of the myth and the circle of life. And there's these very important passages in both these books that can help us understand a little bit more deeper the healing that's required and why this equinox is really bringing back the focus on this surrendering and this sacrificing energy and this brotherhood and sisterhood energy, to really embrace our unity consciousness, which is also Christ consciousness. It depends on, you know, to me they're interrelational terms, whatever you're comfortable with, but unity consciousness, Christ consciousness returns us out of duality and into understanding who we are as individuals, self-sovereign, but also part of a collective whole. And so I hope this helps everyone understand a little bit more about the equinox, and I'm going to get into the final section and read some passages out of the books. So thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned.